Hello and welcome to Thornton.com. Good evening and welcome to Thornton.com. Now, of course, we've got a massive show for you tonight because we are going to be delving into, people asked for a chat about the whole Charlie Kirk thing and everything that goes with it, all the conspiracy theories, all the so-called factual evidence and everything else. So we're going to do that tonight, and we're also going to have the news. But we are going to start, of course, as I said, we are having a one-off here to do with this. And of course, once we've had our say on this, then of course we will go on to the news. But let's get into some of it first of all. Now, there was a header that I wanted to show you. Very, very simply, we have tarnishing a name is the state of the live tonight. And we'll be getting into the row between Candace Owens as well and Erica Kirk. And of course, Israel and everything else that goes on with this issue. Now, there have been so many people that have wanted to talk about this. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's give you the official story. So on September the 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk, an American, we would call right-wing political activist, was assassinated at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, while speaking in an outdoor campus debate planned by Turning Point USA. Now, the conservative youth organization he co-founded and led. Kirk, age 31, was a close ally of US President Donald Trump and a highly influential figure in the MAGA movement. And people will turn around and say, but without him and his influence amongst the young of the, shall we say, then it's possible that Donald Trump may not have got the popularity that he did for getting in. Now, that is debatable. Now, shortly after the debate event began, with around 3,000 people in attendance, Kirk was fatally shot in the neck with a single bullet by a gunman positioned on a roof. This is according to the official testimony of a building approximately 142 yards or 130 meters away. Kirk was taken to a later hospital where he was later pronounced dead. Now, just to tidy this up, Charlie Kirk was dead when he was put in the vehicle. Okay, many people going, oh, this, that, and the other. Nonsense. Having seen those straight away, you know when a man has died. A manhunt for the shooter ended the following day when Tyler James Robinson, a 22-year-old, was literally arrested and surrendered to the local sheriff. Prosecutors charged Robinson with aggravated murder on September the 16th and announced they would seek the death penalty, alleging a politically motivated attack. Now, the assassination was highlighted as an instance of increasing political violence within the USA and was condemned by national and foreign leaders. It was also cheered massively by lots of silly people online. Now, public reactions, as I say, range from heartfelt messages expressing anguish about the political climate to sharply partisan comments and celebrations of Kirk's death. Now, Trump, members of the Republican Party and other conservative figures blame members of the Democratic Party or left-wing or liberal beliefs before a suspect in custody or a motive was identified. Now, the Trump administration has called for a crackdown on what it calls political extremism on the left, which was widely criticized by free speech advocates, the same advocates who wanted anybody who was on the right to shut up and be put in jail. Legal experts said the assassination was a pretext to silence political opposition. They never spoke up at all when they were trying to silence people who were considered to be on the right. Now, the campaign resulted in mass firings and disciplinary actions against people seen as celebrating Kirk's death or making critical comments about him in the aftermath. And of course, Kirk's memorial service was held at State Farm Stadium on September the 21st. So that, as I say, is what we know to be the official narrative of what happened to, of course, poor Charlie Kirk. And there are many, many people who say that what happened to Charlie Kirk was absolutely terrible and everything else. It was. And the people that were online and started coming out with this nonsense, can I just say that, first of all, the very first thing that they did was turn around and say, oh, you know, this is Charlie Kirk is this and Charlie Kirk is that. No, Charlie Kirk, at the end of the day, was entitled to his opinion and his free speech, and that was cut off. Now, there has been many theories put out about this since then. People saying that Charlie Kirk, how he died and everything else, was either Israel, was deep state, was all sorts of different people. The actual facts that are being put forward, and they say, and of course there are text messages and everything, is that this gentleman was responsible. His name is Tyler Robinson. Now, he was known to be trans, or certainly living with another trans person, and there are many text messages that show that to be the case, that he was living with them, and him saying all sorts of things which point to his guilt. Okay, I'm not saying he definitely is. I'm saying it points to his guilt. Many of the text messages that the FBI have put forward, of course, shall we say, and his own father convinced him to give up. Now, of course, does that mean pretty much looks that way? But that hasn't stopped a myriad of conspiracies coming out. And of course, we are asking people and always saying to people, do you have any evidence of this? Well, let's get into some of those things that these people have been saying, because of course, we would turn around and say that here we deal in facts, but there are a ton of, shall we say, people who want to have a talk. So let's get into some of the things that have been spoken about since his death. Here's the first one on the Stu Peters show. Let's have a listen.
Tyler Robinson didn't kill Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's Israeli security detail killed Charlie Kirk. That is the explosion from Charlie Kirk's lavalier lapel mic. Want to see it again? Bring it in closer. Remember when we told you that that was absolutely an exit wound? Yeah, it is. Check the trajectory of the round that was deployed from that lavalier lapel mic. That went directly from Charlie Kirk's lapel. That went directly from underneath Charlie Kirk's white t-shirt up through his neck and created the exit wound that we told you was an exit wound immediately when we saw that exit wound. First we had exploding pagers, now we have exploding mics. Do you remember the vector analysis from John Bray? That proves that all of the activity came from the mic that Charlie Kirk was wearing. Remember the palm gun guy in the brown shirt, that shadowy looking guy with the sunglasses? Yeah, he pushes the detonator. Clear as day.
Gang violence. Great.
So that is just one of the many wild sort of theories that are out there about Charlie Kirk's death. Many say that his security detail were in on it, and many other, shall we say, massive conspiracy theories that are out there, of course. And of course, there are many people out there, including political commentator Candace Owens, who has turned around and said that she doesn't believe for 1 second that Charlie Kirk's death was due to the person that they say it is, which is this, of course, Tyler Robinson. And of course, there are many people, literally Candace Owens went on Piers Morgan and many other shows, and of course does her own podcast where she is talking about all sorts of things or things that she thinks has gone on. Now, what we are going to get into a little bit here, because there has been many rows since then have broken out. Now, we will very simply First of all, Erica Kirk turned around and said that she forgave the gunman who shot her husband. Let's have a little look at this.
Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him.
Now, at an emotionally charged event, of course, this was sort of played out in the media, and people will have their own thoughts on that sort of thing, with it being played out in the media and everything else. Let's have a little look what happened in the stadium at the memorial service for you here.
Right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree.
Now, there was a massive memorial service, certainly a massive rally for Charlie Kirk afterwards. And of course, many people question the wisdom of actually having this because, of course, it did seem rather unseemly. And people think that, and I'm one of them, I must say, that thought it should have been handled in a different way and should not have been a public outpouring and turned into some sort of political event. Now, there are many, many people, as I say, who have come out with all sorts of thoughts and everything else to do with this. Now, we've got people turning around and saying Erica Kirk is an actress, Candace Owens is an actress, Tyler Robinson didn't shoot anyone. You're watching a show. The choice is yours if you tend to wake up and see it for what it is. And of course, there are many, many people sharing the same views. And of course, one of those putting forward the whole idea that this didn't happen, of course, didn't happen in the way that it said, is Candace Owens. So let's have a little look at some commentary from this.
Administration every day to be told, don't believe your own. I understand why, because it's been a shocking year. You know, you had President Trump survive an assassination attempt on his life that left one of his supporters dead. I think a lot of people feel like we haven't really gotten an answer as to how that happened, why that happened. Exactly. And then Charlie Kirk murdered in cold blood, broad daylight. And so it's happening at a time where people have all-time low levels of trust in mainstream media, in the government, because for the last 4 years, they were gaslit by the press corps and by the Biden administration every day to be told, don't believe your own eyes, Biden's fine, he's in ill shape. That did a lot of damage to the credibility of the answers that the government and the media put in front of people. So I understand why people have skepticism. I understand why they go look in other places for those answers.
So there we go. That, again, is the media turning around and having its say. Now, the world and his wife has literally had a say on this. And I know we're going to cover this once and we're going to cover it properly. And then at the end of it, people, of course, are entitled to have whatever they want to say. And of course, we will now hear from Candace Owens, just so we can tidy away what she's got to say on this score.
Butterfly writes, and I should actually first, let's read the top comment from last episode. This person wrote, Issa Rae wrote, Erica Kirk will forgive someone 1 week later for murdering her husband, but she won't forgive someone for not believing the FBI narrative. I saw a lot of people commenting that online, that the energy definitely feels different for people that want to get to the truth than it does for the person who she believes killed her husband. And I don't believe that that is the person who pulled the trigger. I just don't. And you're allowed to disagree with Erica. You are. And that's fine. She's allowed to think what she thinks, and you're allowed to think what you think.
So there we are. So Candace Owens is probably one of the greatest critics of this, and she says that she has evidence that Israel were behind this. Is this factual? Somebody pop their hand up there, Nillis.
Well, I think you've got to talk about the backstory of this as well.
Yes,
because Charlie Kirk was very pro-Israel at the
he was.
beginning of his thing, but he became more and more worried about Israel's influence over American politics.
Okay,
And
hang
the
on,
more,
hold on right there. Hold on right there, Nillis. He was, how do we know that this is what he said?
well, because what he said to Candace Owens, and also because
Okay,
he'd
but that's,
he
is that, hang on, Nillis, let me ask a question here. Is that from Candace Owens or does she have videotape of that?
well, one of the reasons what she has videotape, Tucker Carlson was going to speak at one of Charlie Kirk's events, and Tucker said to Charlie, "I won't talk about Israel if you don't want me to, because no, it's going to affect your donor base." And Charlie said to Tucker, "Go, Max, get it all out there." And we know that he privately said to his Israeli donors, because they'd all taken their money away from him.
Okay, how
And
do and do we know why? And is there what? How do we know this, Nillis?
how do we know this? Because he said to people he was getting more and more worried about Israel's influence over America. The
Okay,
three of them, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Charlie Kirk, were very close, and they talked to each other. But it was funny because as soon as his assassination occurred, those donors who were the largest donors to Turning Point returned with their donations. Also, there was a lot of money being embezzled from Turning Point USA, and
how do we know this? Nillis, where have you got?
Yeah, because hello,
Yep, I can hear you now.
because Charlie Kirk asked Elon Musk and Doge to investigate it, where the money
Okay,
had gone to.
and
This
has there been any official printing of this of these of the accounts of Turning Point USA?
Not that I know, no, but this whole
So
event,
we have to put allegedly.
this whole event. Well,
Yep.
I'm sure if you ask Elon Musk, he'll tell you, or Doge. Yeah. Also, but also this whole event where he was assassinated was organized within 3 days, which was which was the first time. Usually they would take over 6 months planning an event such as that. There
By
wasn't
who?
by the people who were organizing it. Probably the same people who maybe had been taking money from Turning Point.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question then on that. You say 3 days. Who is alleging that it was done inside 3 days?
Yeah, Candace Owens.
Okay. But there were flyers advertising the event 3 weeks beforehand.
All right.
Just
Well, maybe I was confused between 3 weeks and 3 days. Anyway,
yeah.
but
Okay.
usually would take a long time to organise the one of these things at one of these universities.
Okay.
There wasn't. Usually there would be by state law. There should have been an ambulance there. There wasn't.
Yes. Oh, there are many things that your security team didn't do. I totally agree with you on that, Nilla.
And
I think your security team was very, very lax.
Maybe you can help me here, because they also say that if the gun that they say was used, it would have blown half Charlie Kirk's head away.
No, that's simply not the case. It depends what round you are firing. It really does. At the end of the day, if I'm even remotely a decent shooter from 142 yards with and that is obviously a hunter's rifle that they're alleging was used in the assassination. And of course, they're saying they recovered the weapon and everything else. With a hunter's rifle with a scope on it, you're not going to miss. It's the same as the person who missed Donald Trump. You can't miss from that range. He didn't have a scope. But this guy had been on the firing range, apparently, allegedly, again, with his father. And of course, so I do have a question then. Let's hear from Candace Owens first, and then I'll ask you a question.
Not know if they were going to be open. I didn't know what Erica's energy was going to be like, if it was going to be more of an argument, if there was going to be legal threats. You guys were telling me not to drink water, so I didn't drink water. Well, I brought my own water, but I didn't drink that water too. It was a lot. There's a lot going on, okay?
So we're talking about the meeting here between Candace Owens and Erica Kirk, because at the end of the day, Candace Owens has been accused by Ben Shapiro, and she had a falling out with Ben Shapiro because she was calling out Israel, and of course she was allowed to do that. Nilis, then Alexander.
And I've got nothing more to say. Sorry, I've got my hand.
Alexander.
Well, for me, I think the whole thing's a bit of a shit show, and we're not really meant to find out. So obviously, somebody organised it. But what didn't interest me was the fact that the way he was buried, flags. I mean, he was almost. You'd think he was a military general the way he was buried.
Yes,
that's what got my interest.
I think the thing for me, Alexander, I would have thought a private burial, dignified, no media. I think that would have been the way to handle it. I thought what it turned into was an absolute disgrace. What were your thoughts?
No, I think it was done on purpose to
yes,
kind of create a bigger distraction.
It was definitely politicized at the end of it. There's no question about that. And my thoughts on it, I thought it was very tacky, very poor. And I didn't like to see it. I thought they turned it into an absolute circus. That's my thoughts on that. Andy, oh, sorry, Alexander, you finish off, buddy.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, no, they did. They turned it into a premiere show, and that really was a wrong thing for me. I used to watch him, and for me, I saw him change after probably about 4 or 5 months before he was shot. When I used to watch him, I mean, he was a good debater, sensible bloke, really good ideas, talked very well to people when he was in the student grounds and stuff. But I noticed a change in the way in which he delegated and discussed with people. There was a change in the way he did it. And that was about 4 or 5 months prior to. Why? No idea. But I could see a change in his podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the way it was handled, there's other people with their hands up as well. Andy Edge and then Nilis.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that it's all hearsay from Candace. No, we haven't actually got any real proof. You know, there's no source backing it. All this information.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all in the air. The other thing is this thing where Erica forgave the killer. That was a very powerful statement, but was it really meant? Or, you know what I mean? I can't believe that she forgave the killer unless she's so Christian.
I sure as hell wouldn't have done. And I've got to say,
it just came across quite false.
Yes, yeah, fair enough. I got that impression too. I got in that impression that it seemed awfully stage managed. Nilis.
Well, I was going to say that all Turning Point USA's is really funded. The donors are all back funding it again. They brought their money back. Yeah. And at that memorial rally, they sold over $80 million worth of T-shirts, apparently.
Yes.
And one of their arguments against Candace Owens is he's trying to make money out of it.
Yeah, well, it seems as though everybody is. Something I found incredibly bad. Have a look at this. I thought this was absolutely unnecessary and quite.
I love you. I love you. God bless you. I love you.
Now, I'm going to say here, did anybody else see that and think, oh my God, can we take this off? I am really uncomfortable with this. But for me, that should never, ever have been broadcast by anyone. I think it turned it into a Louis Bastos.
Yes, Father. Yes. Funerals should be private with loved ones, no matter what status the person is. That kind of stuff should be forbidden and go to court by doing that. It's private. It's not something you do for somebody, whether he's famous or not.
Yeah.
It is. This is the problem with the media nowadays. They use their mobiles for everything. It is not fair. My opinion.
I've got to say, I found it. How can I? The best way I can put this is crass. As there's the word was used in the chat. That wasn't my word, by the way. That was somebody in the chat brilliantly said. I found it absolutely crass. Nillis.
Yeah, well, that was obviously filmed deliberately because the camera was so close to her.
Yeah, exactly. And not good. And of course, that then gave Candace Owens, of course, has accused Turning Point. She's accused Israel, and she's accused Eric, and of course they had a falling out, didn't they, Nillis?
Yeah, they had a meeting.
They did.
Said she's not going to back. All Candace is saying, she wants to have an investigation. She doesn't really believe the official narrative, and she wants to investigate what's going on.
Yes.
And
does she have any factual evidence to back it up?
Well, she has a motive.
Okay. There are millions out there could have had motive to kill him, Nils.
We're having this talk sort of premature because she's still finding out things.
Okay. We will. Yeah.
For example, there was an Egyptian plane which touched down right in the next airport.
Yeah, there was, and the plane took off again, but the flight logs are available for that.
Yeah, and we're still finding out things, but
okay,
that Egyptian plane was occupied by Israelis, and she's going to talk about that tonight, I think.
Okay, we will await to see if she produces any evidence for that. But I take your point. Let's get into, shall we say, the rather seamier side of this spat and everything else, because they did, shall we say, as Nilla says, they had a bit of a spat. And of course, this was all over Megyn Kelly and many commentators here. And this is something that I don't think helps Charlie Kirk's legacy. So I'm going to play a video now of Megyn Kelly, who says she intervened in between Candace Owens and, of course, Erica Kirk. Let's have a little look at that video. It's about 15 minutes long. There is some rather spicy language. I do apologize for that. And then we're going to get into a bit more of the actual things that happen, because I have an idea, and we're also going to talk a little bit about Tyler Robinson as well.
As this, I don't know if you want to call it a feud or what, between Candace Owens and Erica Kirk has been heating up, that I would have something to say on it in the coming days, and I do. It's been going on now for a while where Candace, I had that exchange with Ben Shapiro out on the tour where he said she'd accused Erica of orchestrating Charlie's murder. And I was taken aback. I had not heard that. And then in the interim, between that day and the next, I had my staff go research exactly what she had said. And then somebody just happened to ask me a question about it. Truly was not, that was totally organic. That was not a plant by me at all, but somebody asked me about it the very next night, and I actually told them, because I'd been planning on saying something on the show since Ben had made the accusation, and if it was not true, I did not want to be having something that heavy hanging out there. Someone asked about it, and I said, that's actually not true. And at that time, it was not true. Candace had not accused Erica of orchestrating Charlie's murder. And I've gotten a lot of grief for saying that, but I was correct. We are relentlessly factual here on this program, and she had not done that at the time. As I pointed out at the time, she had impugned Turning Point, and I realized Erica is CEO, but she wasn't until after Charlie died. So, you know, saying the guys at Turning Point had done something prior to Charlie's death is not the same as saying Erica Kirk. Okay. I'm sorry, it may seem to you like a distinction without a difference, but we really do care about facts, being precise here on the program. We don't always get it right, but that's a big one to get wrong. Well, since then, Candace has been more focused on Erica Kirk. And I think that's because Erica Kirk went on a media tour and started clearly speaking out about Candace. And so, you know, it turned into a rather explosive situation last week, where Erica went on with Harris Faulkner on Fox News and said very clearly she wants these, quote, conspiracy theories to stop, especially about Turning Point USA, which she called her Turning Point family. And she was clearly upset. You know, we played the soundbite for you. She was clearly, you know, she's had it. And then she went on with Barry Weiss on CBS for a town hall. They had aired the preview, saw it, and then the actual exchange aired on Saturday night with Barry, where Erica told Candace to just stop. Okay, she just said, I want you to stop. Actually, we'll play that. Let's play the soundbite here.
The podcaster Candace Owens, okay? At one time, a friend of Charlie's, at one time, an employee of Turning Point. She has been one of the main peddlers of these conspiracies, and she is making a huge amount of money on it. She is building her business off of these lies. What do you want to say to her and the other people that are putting these lies out into the world right now?
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
And that was a clear play on words, if you will, because Candace, when she had started down the Turning Point narrative, had said, only my husband or Erica Kirk can tell me to stop this. And, you know, like one word from Erica will stop this. And Erica didn't say anything about this. She hasn't really been commenting on podcasts and so on. But she did, as you saw in that clip, say stop. And it was not taken as the command to stop. I think Candace felt she was saying stop lying, and Candace, her defense was she's not lying. She's actually trying to do an investigation into the true killer of Charlie Kirk. I've said before, and I will say again, I think they have the true killer of Charlie Kirk. His name is Tyler Robinson. He's in custody, and I have every reason to believe that he committed this murder. Many people disagree with me. Many people believe there's more to this story, that we're being lied to by our FBI, that there are too many inconsistencies around the official story, and those people are more than entitled to that belief. I don't share it. That's fine. This is America. You can feel differently about these things. But with things ratcheting up between Erica and Candace last week, many people had been asking me, why aren't you saying anything? Obviously, I love Erica Kirk. I do. I love her. And I feel, as I said on the tour, protective of her because she's in an extremely vulnerable state right now. Yes, she's taken on the CEO position of Turning Point, and you know, it's a fair question to ask whether that's a job she can do right now while she's at the height of her grieving. I take no position on that. I think she's doing fine, but I also think it's fair. You can ask that. So I don't like to see her get attacked at all. And I wish that would stop. And to be honest, I wish Candace wouldn't be pursuing the Turning Point narrative at all. Never mind Erica. Though again, she hasn't graduated to blaming Erica for Charlie's murder. She's criticizing her and the media tour, and that is fair game. That piece of it is fair game. So in any event, Candace knows I disagree with her on this. Petty internet people want to turn that into a cat fight between Candace and yours truly, which will fail. She and I actually have only gotten closer over the past couple of months as people try to make me attack her. So fuck off, okay? I have no obligation to you to hate the people you hate or try to bring down the people you want brought down. I'm sorry, but if that's what you want from me, you do need to move on. It's not going to happen. And I've learned a lot behind the scenes from Candace about some of the things she's been put through from people I used to respect. I also, though, adore and love Erica, and I want this to stop. I do, of course. None of this is a mystery to Erica or to Candace. And a couple of weeks ago, Erica called me, and it's relevant to the meeting they just had. Okay, so I'm going to get into this. Those two had a sit-down meeting yesterday for 4.5 hours. Erica and Candace, alone. Well, I think they had two other people with them, but those were the two principals. And they met face-to-face in Nashville yesterday. No recording devices, nothing, just the two of them. And again, each had a supporter. Someone from their own respective teams. I'll let them disclose the specifics of that. But they made a lot of progress, according to them. And this is what they tweeted out yesterday after the meeting. Candace said, Erica and I had an extremely productive 4.5-hour meeting that I think we both feel should have taken place a lot earlier than it did. We agreed much more than I had anticipated. Of course, we also disagreed on various points and people as well. Most importantly, we were able to share intel and clarify intent. I will, of course, have a full rundown for you all tomorrow as I am currently exhausted, but I wanted to quickly let you guys know that absolutely nothing was held back, and the immediate result was that tensions were thawed. That's very good. Erica posted something 10 minutes later, writing, had a very productive conversation with Candace Owens. More to come from both of us. Looking forward to AmFest this week. That's Turning Point's biggest event of the year. It happens this weekend, later this week into the weekend. Time to get back to work.
This is a medieval simulation strategy game. As a lord, you start by building.
So I will let Erica and the Turning Point crew and Candace Owens fill you in on what happened at that meeting and so on. I just wanted to know, because many of my viewers have been wondering why I haven't said anything, given my previous statements about Erica. And the reason is that I have been working behind the scenes to try to foster a détente between them. Erica called me weeks ago and asked me if I would be part of this sit down with them, which originally they had contemplated might be for consumption by the public, might air in some way, shape, or form.
So there we are. That was Megyn Kelly's take on the whole thing that happened with Candace Owens and Erica Kirk. I will say this, I think it's incredibly unseemly that these people are doing this and that we're in the middle of this nonsense. I tend to hold the view, now there are people, first of all, did Tyler Robinson do it? I believe he did. There are Israel involved. It's highly possible that they were. I am not ruling that out in a million years. And there is a reason for me saying so. Tyler Robinson appeared in court. He has admitted to doing it. The evidence that we have seen seems pretty overwhelming, and nobody's coming out with any hard and fast reasons for, of course, the involvement. There are lots of speculations, lots of theories, lots of people saying this, that, and the other. And it is one of those. And I honestly believe that if there's hard and fast evidence that Candace Owens had, you wouldn't go and sit down with that person. And in fact, Karen has just said so in the comments. You wouldn't be sitting down in a room with that person if you genuinely believe that person was behind it. Now, I tend to agree with this thought on it. None of Charlie Kirk's, shall we say, conspiracists ever bring up Tyler Robinson's trans boyfriend who fled the state, and there's evidence of him grooming Tyler into an extremist. Now, of course, he was trans and everything else. But there is, Candace may be right, but for the wrong reasons. Now, there is, without any shadow of a doubt, now I'm going to give you some facts here. Of all the people who are responsible for child exploitation, which I honestly believe, hand on heart, that the trans lobby is responsible for, giving beta blockers to kids and telling kids that you can be a woman or you can be a man and cutting their breasts off at the age, at the age of 16, I think is disgraceful. And this trans movement for me is very, very shocking indeed. It is all in the schools. It is confusing children like there's no tomorrow. And of all the child exploitation people that are available, did you know, and this is fact, that there are more people who have been done for child sexual exploitation or child sexual activities, or having pornographic images of children, downloading them or whatever. There are more per head in Israel than any other country in the world. That's a fact. And in fact, if you remember, we reported on one of the heads of setting up the internet spy ring for Israel, the head of this for checking on all your social media and everything else. He was actually charged with having child pornography images and various other things as well. And he was given bail by the DA and then fled back to Israel, and he's not coming back. That, it too, is a fact. Is Tyler Robinson a very confused individual? I believe he is. And of course, he was into some very strange and disturbing stuff. If you believe what they say. And of course, do I trust the FBI? No, I don't. The FBI have failed to get to the bottom of the Donald Trump shooter. And we all know full well, or anybody with half a brain who has done, served in the military or whatever, doesn't believe that the shooter on the roof in Butler, Pennsylvania, was the shooter at all. There is just, it is almost impossible. Taking the wrong rifle to an event to actually assassinate someone is the start, and they would have you believe that he carried a ladder. Now, is this a problem? Was Charlie Kirk massively against the trans movement? Yes, he was. Is there huge money behind that, and are there tons of people behind that getting people to do, shall we say, give talks and to push this agenda? Yes, there is some very dark and very deep and very shadowy people. So I'm going to give you a couple of explanations here. And of course, you can turn around and say, no, it's not true. You're fully entitled to disagree. This show is completely what that's about. Now, when it comes to trans sex crimes, here we go. If you wanted the data and the figures, how many trans people, rates of sexual offending, England and Wales, based on the 2021 Census Prison and Freedom of Information data. Sex crimes by females, 109 out of 25 million, 4 per million. Males, 11,502 out of 23.5 million, 490 people per million. Male identifying as women, 56 out of 47,572. That's 1,177 per million. So males identifying as women for sexual offences are twice as likely to offend as male paedophiles, and of course they are 10 times more likely to do so instead of women. That is just a fact. I'm not having a go and this, that and the other. I'm saying how dangerous this is. And of course, then we need to get into school shootings, mass shootings by demographic. You've got trans non-binary, male, trans non-binary, Asian, and black men. And of course, there are people turning around and saying transgenderism is a mental illness. It absolutely is. Now, what are the chances of your child being shot in a school? Very slim, unbelievably slim. Okay, but not as much. It's definitely more likely than being struck by lightning. And there are lots and lots of issues surrounding this. Now, there's much data when it comes to mass shooting. Trans and non-binary, Asians, black, white, Hispanic, Native American mass shooting rates by demographic, public incidents with 4 or more fatalities, expressed as rates per million per population. Now, there was one other factor that we're going to give you here, And this again is fact. Okay. When we delve into this deeply, mass shootings, white, 32 of them, compared to the population. Now, this is compared to the population. Then you look at Hispanic, then you look at black, then you look at Asian, then you look at other, then you look at transgender and total non-transgender. So there's been a total of these shootings, okay? And when you look at these mass shootings, you will see that per million, you are 10 times more likely than you would be, should we say, to get shot by a transgender person in a mass school shooting. So is there a problem? You can decide. You're 10 times more likely to be shot by somebody who identifies as trans or non-binary, and do we have a problem? Is schools creating people who are so disturbed that they're going out and doing these mass shootings? Well, the figure per population says yes. Now, people will go, oh, there's many more school shooters, white school shooters and school shooters that are not trans. Yes, there are, because there's many more of the population. But in the population that is identified as trans, it is 10 times more likely that a trans person will be responsible for a child being shot in school, no matter how small it is. Now, is it possible that everybody would like Israel to be blamed because Israel won't care one way or the other, as they don't do, and they never have done? Is it possible, I'm asking you, is it possible that the people who like to push this agenda, who have a, shall we say, more demographically sexual perverts in that country than any other country in the world, is it possible that they want to deflect away from the trans issue, so that, of course, this will carry on and nobody tackles the real interest? Because let's face it, what's going to happen here is very, very simply, Israel going to be blamed, this person's going to be blamed, Charlie Kirk's organization is going to be blamed, you've got Candace Owens and everybody else rowing, and are we missing the point? Are we being deflected away from the real cause and the real truth behind this? Is there critical planning behind this? Was Charlie Kirk assassinated with planning? We honestly don't know. And of course, do we trust the FBI 100%? Of course we don't. Not in a million years. But what is, without doubt, there are two things here that are absolutely terrible. Is, first of all, the nonsense surrounding the Charlie Kirk assassination. It's all the lines are being blurred and everything else. And there may be some truth to any of it, But ask yourself, which is more likely and what is now not being spoken about? We've come completely off the topic of what is happening because of the trans agenda that is being pushed in schools, and who are massively behind the exploitation of children, who have more people living in their country who like this kind of thing. I would turn around and say that is something we should be getting back on track and looking at. At the moment, we're looking at Israel. We're looking at Israel taking him out. We're looking at, and people are saying Erica Kirk. You've got Ben Shapiro doing deflection. And this is the only time I'm really going to say this, because I find the whole thing, there are two things, as I say, that I'm really, really hacked off about. It's, first of all, the whole death of Charlie Kirk has been turned into a media circus, and it is, and not only but the people that are closest to him, by almost everyone. Piers Morgan came out and said how terrible it was, and then he invited Erica Kirk and Candace Owens onto his show. Well done, Piers. So what we've got is this media circus surrounding his death, and I think it should be far more dignified than that. He was entitled to his views, and it would seem as though he has been killed, and this is a massive distraction to get away from what actually really happened, or what we should really be talking about. Because is anybody talking trans and mass school shootings anymore? No, they're not. They're talking who did it. We've got Candace Owens and Erica Kirk and everybody else, and Megyn Kelly, who is massively pro-Israel. Her channel gets a lot of money. Ben Shapiro used to work with Candace Owens, got rid of Candace Owens. He is massively funded by Israel. So I would say there is a connection, but we haven't really scratched the surface of what that connection is. Now, that's just my personal opinion, but the data that I'm showing you is correct. I find the whole thing around Charlie Kirk's assassination a terrible thing to his memory, because at the end of the day, what he did was what we do on the show, but on a much more massive scale. And there are some things I didn't agree with him on, but very, very simply, the guy went on the campuses, and he had open public debates. Now, why shouldn't he? And why shouldn't people be able to then talk to Charlie Kirk and set up an argument? And 90% of the time, Charlie Kirk, very smart guy, 95% of the time, he'd have the best of the debate. But does that then mean that you can hate on him as much as the people did when he died? Of course it doesn't. That's unhinged and quite clearly lunatic behavior. And do we have a deeper problem in society with literally taking every subject and propagandizing it and emotionalizing it so much that people begin to act in these bizarre and idiotic ways? And are we in more danger as a society from in cases of this? We've all seen the trans lobby go slightly potty. Are we in more danger because of this? That's a debate for you, and a debate we can have here. And anybody thinks I'm talking absolute nonsense is perfectly okay to come out and say so. And I think it is one of those, they have made an absolute circus of this. And I think it is a horrific way to remember it, to be honest with you. We do need to get to the bottom of it. Will we ever get to the bottom of it? With all the conspiracy and everything that is going on out there surrounding the death of Charlie Kirk and people having these idiotic rows. And in this, I will say no one has behaved with any decorum whatsoever. I think it's absolutely shocking. And by all means, pop in the comments or pop on and have your say. And I respect every single person's opinion here, because, of course, lots and lots of us will disagree, you know, and that's fine. This is what this show's about, where we talk to each other, we sort out what we think is happening, and that's and very simply, then you can have your say as well, and that's allowed. I've said, I think you're talking nonsense, not really, and that's fine. You see, nobody's getting upset, nobody's screaming at each other, and everybody has, shall we say, an idea or a take on this, and you're entitled to that. What I don't think is these commentators that are supposedly meant to have been Charlie Kirk's best friend or very close to Charlie Kirk should be treating the memory of him and, you know, and treating it in this way. This whole thing has been politicized, and I think it is absolutely crazy. What happened was a guy who was debating people went onto a campus, and for having a different view, whether that be Israel, trans, whatever you think it might be, he was shot. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is a terrible, terrible thing to happen to somebody who's just talking. And you have to look at the whole thing that went on before Trump got elected, where people were being cancelled on campuses just because they had an alternative viewpoint. I thought the funeral was absolutely terrible and disrespectful to Charlie Kirk's memory and to Charlie Kirk himself. The guy received a lot of stick and everything when he was alive, for people then to be giving him stick after he's passed away in some of the things that were said out there was absolutely shocking, and he's not worthy of debate. Thank you very much to those. There are one or two who have got to pop off and everything else. But as I say, I think some of the stuff that is out there about Charlie Kirk was absolutely terrible. While we're on the subject of conspiracy theories, people being shot and court cases, let's just give you a quick heads up on this, because this is quite shocking. Maggioni, who shot, of course, a CEO. Now, this is quite staggering. I hadn't heard this before. I had to check that it was correct. The DA has withdrawn all statements made by Luigi Maggioni during interrogation because he was not made aware he was being recorded. Now, let's get into this a little bit, because this gentleman was grabbed. It is said that he is guilty. As far as I know, he hasn't admitted that he is guilty. He's become something of a celebrity and everything else. So let's get into this a little bit then. What is it that he was paraded through the streets, if you remember, in the orange jumpsuit, and everybody from the governor to, Brian and his dog walking behind him, perp walking him along the road. And yet, the most basic thing, they screwed up completely. Okay. The fact that they didn't record or tell him that he was being recorded or read him his rights when he was being interrogated or investigated in a police station is of the most stupid, the most what is the word I can use here? The most amateur, and is almost unbelievable that people would not be able to look at that and go, it's so basic. Nillis.
Yeah, it's almost a case of too many cooks spoil the broth, isn't it? He was surrounded by 7 policemen that probably everybody thought they'd read him his rights.
Yeah, I'm here for the perp walk, but I didn't read him his rights. Now, there is every chance now, and of course, that is seen as fruit of the poisonous tree, therefore can't be admissible in court. So he could say anything, absolutely anything now, and possibly walk because of it. Possible. I mean, yeah, Karen was right. Basic law to read him his rights when questioning him and let him know that he's being recorded. This, anybody who's been inside a police station, I'm one of them. The interview is being recorded in the presence of blah, 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 blah. How you do not do that when you have all those high-ranking officers that are around tells me that you should be fired, because nobody in their right mind would, of course, have anything to do with that at all. Nillis.
Well, maybe it tells you that he's a hero even within the police. Maybe you could say that.
There is that idea, isn't there, Nillis? There is that idea, and of course, we could see that coming more and more and more, couldn't we? And I don't know about you, but I sort of looked at that and I went, I cannot believe for 1 second that they have done that. And they obviously have, and it's quite, how can I put this? It's not good, is it? It is not good at all. Your take on it may be slightly different. So let's get into some more stuff then, and let's have a little look at this, because this is something that, while we're on the subject, let's have a look while we're on the subject to this, because this does sort of tie in. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene to do with children.
I'm here this morning to urge my colleagues to support the rule, which includes H.R. 3492, the Protect Children's Innocence Act. My bill criminalizes the genital mutilation, such as this young lady right here, and chemical castration of children, imprisoning offenders for up to 10 years. For far too long, children have been sexually exploited under the malicious falsehood of so-called gender-affirming care. Mutilating children's bodies and giving them sterilizing drugs is anything but affirming and anything but care, especially given the fact that this is happening in too many cases before these kids are ever old enough.
I would utterly and wholeheartedly agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on that particular subject. I think it is quite staggering that in this day and age, we allow that still to happen to children. And while we're on the subject of Israel, here's Starmer.
I believe in the state of Israel, a secure Israel. I also believe in an independent Palestinian state. Thank you.
The Jewish Labour Movement believes in a two-state solution. The Jewish Labour Movement would say they were Zionists. Are you a Zionist?
Well, I don't know how many people know this. My parents' family are Jewish, and we've got extended family in Israel. That we feel this every day. I don't describe myself as a Zionist, but I understand and I sympathise and I support Zionism. So I wouldn't describe myself in that way. But of course, we have family in Israel, and that is part of my family.
Now, that was recorded at the Jewish Labour Movement. And of course, that means, yes, I am a Zionist. Let's just call it exactly what it is, shall we? And of course, we're going to hear more and more, shall we say, about Keir Starmer as we go along, and his push to do absolutely strange and stupid things, which is what he's up to. Nilus.
Well, he also said that my parents are Jewish and I have Jewish relatives within Israel, so that means he's Jewish as well.
I'm not a Zionist, but I support them, Nilus.
Yeah. Well, was that Was that before or after he became a Labour leader?
Yes, exactly. And of course, it is one of those. Double O bimbo. Yeah, absolutely. It is quite incredible. People turn around and go, people who think that Zionists are Jewish. They're not. They're not. Jewish people are absolutely. I've met Orthodox Jews, and Orthodox Jews don't hold these views at all. Not at all. So, of course, many people. And, of course, Hillary has been mouthing off again. She's got a problem. She's got a problem with Christians.
We haven't gotten to the more perfect union, and we fought a civil war over part of it. And people have been protesting, for hundreds of years that, things were not as they should be, given our ideals and how we should be moving toward them. So I think that's what makes us so special as a country. And the idea that you could turn the clock back and try to recreate a world that never was, dominated by, let's say it, white men of a certain persuasion, a certain religion, a certain point of view, a certain ideology, is just doing such damage to what we should be aiming for. And we were on the path toward that. I mean, imperfectly, lots of, bumps along the way, but I agree with you. We were on the right trajectory.
Let me.
There we are. Hillary Clinton blaming, you basically, very, very simply. And of course, we'll dig into more of that. Now we've got a lot more to come, a lot more to show you. Louis Bastos.
So why do the Clintons go to church every Sunday? Hypocrites.
Who knew that politicians could be hypocritical, Louis? Let's show you this. And then, of course, the rest of the show is for our subscribers. And we've got many things still to come on this show, including what's going on elsewhere. Marissa Tomei, I know, Ivor, absolutely terrible, isn't it? But I've got to say, I've always had a bit of a thing for Marissa Tomei, but not anymore because she turns out to be completely crazy. Here we go. Let's have a little, shall we say, to the end of this. We're going to show you this now, and then we're going to come back, and it will be a subscriber show only. Please come across WarrenThornton.com if you want to be part of the show and you want to have your say.